it was not me. That was not me. I did not put the emails onto ChatGPT. The reason why I'm saying it is because the use case I'm going to be talking about actually involves email marketing as well. But let me introduce myself. My name is Ariela Nerubay. I've met a lot of you in this room already. For those of you who don't know me, I am a Chief Marketing Officer, author, and also a professor of multicultural marketing and digital marketing at USC. I am originally from Mexico City, and I have been doing this long. Oh, you're from Mexico City too? Nice. Anybody else from Mexico City or Mexico here? No? Okay, good. We'll talk later. But you know, this is too many years. So I started Multicultural when I was about 2. And yeah, that was a joke, thank you. And I'm not, yeah, feels old. But I've been doing multicultural marketing for my entire career. And that is, in a way, the way I live. So I say I teach it, I live it, and I'm it. And I market it to multicultural audiences for a living. So that's where my passion resides. So I have worked in a variety of industries, from media to retail to entertainment, and I have really gained a lot of insights into customers, what makes them move, and especially what are the cultural layers that make them connect authentically with a brand. But I wanted to start this conversation with this recent graph that I saw in one of the 10,000 emails that I received on my inbox every day with news. But it caught my attention because I'm like, well, this is good news, right? Because it's basically saying that retail spending is, you know, sort of flat or still going, despite all of the unfortunate negative customer sentiment. And that is because, you know, our customers currently are like, well, you know, inflation is supposed to be going down, but my prices are still feeling pretty high. I mean, when I go and get my cup of coffee at Starbucks, it still feels like it's more expensive than it should be. And it is impacting, for some of us, the quality of life. So if people are still buying and shopping because they have to, but you know, they don't feel so good about it, how can we create a connection with them that makes them feel better about doing business with us, right? How can we improve this brand affinity between our companies and our customers despite certain sentiments that we can't control? And one of the many questions, because there's many questions to answer this question, one of the many answers to answer this question is being authentic. And being authentic and offering them relevant brand experiences. And I know that is easier said than done, and you're wondering, well, how can you be authentically connecting with customers and what particular brand experiences? And we've had a lot of conversations here about omni-channel and touching them in multiple ways in different channels in a way that feels that you're talking to me, because that's what matters at the end of the day. I like, you know, personalization at scale, which again, we have talked a lot. How do we achieve that personalization at scale that makes us feel that in every interaction that I have with you as a brand, you're truly talking to me? So I'm going to share, I just, you know, ended an engagement with a company, but I think that this is a really great example of how I took this company that had a lot of potential in the terms of using their data, and how we went full circle into actually, you know, making a real impact and looking at how our business outcomes were improved because of the use of our data. So this is the use case that you know, we were talking about initially. So this is the challenge that I faced when I joined the company about 6 years ago. I found out we had a very muddy lake, a huge data lake, but it was pretty muddy. It was 40 years of a lot of information from customers, but the data was never utilized for marketing. It was mostly utilized for financial predictions. And that is because this company, even though it's a retailer, is also a financial institution. So 90% of their sales are done on their private label credit card. So you can imagine the volumes of data when 9 out of 10 of your customers are utilizing your private label credit card. Because in order for you to apply for credit, as you all know, you need to provide either Social Security, your name, your address, and then this company, in addition to that, because it's also lending to customers that don't necessarily have Social Security, so these are immigrant, underserved minorities, then they would learn about, the country of origin, and are you married, and a lot of information that you normally wouldn't ask on a credit application, but that was necessary in order to service this particular segment. So a lot of great information. But because it was a financial services company, ultimately, their focus was, okay, how much money do they have available on this credit line that I provided them? And then when was the last time that they bought? And then let's do all of our marketing strategies focused on that so that they can buy more and, use their credit as much as they're able to, and then also let's get them to come back, right? If they haven't come in the last 6 months or 12 months, how are we going to bring them back so that they keep staying engaged? So it was very transactional. We didn't have any offer differentiations at all. So men will get an offer that involved fashion items and makeup, as well as how women would get, an offer that was very focused on electronics. Not that we don't shop electronics, but electronics that potentially a man would be more interested in. Or like if there was this major Super Bowl offer that was clearly very male-driven, still everybody would get it. So no differentiation. And clearly no use of AI or predictive analytics and anything that had to do with marketing specifically. So I thought this is a great opportunity. Instead of seeing all these challenges as, as blockages that don't allow me to do my job, I thought, well, no, it's the opposite. If we have all of these data, then it means we have all of this transactional data. I know what they bought, when they bought it. I know how they're paying. I know who they are because, again, I need to have that in order to agree to give them credit. So how can I use this to create this personalization at scale that we're talking about? So I built this model, and I kept talking to my team about this, and I said, no, we have all this data, and you haven't used it. We need to put the customer at the center, and then we need to determine what offers are actually relevant to them for what products that are, they're most likely to be, of interest at the price points that they are going to be willing to convert at, and also based on need or life cycle in which they're at, so that we can find the right timing to offer this to them in the right platform and in the right language. Because remember, in addition to being customers, these were very specific set of customers where even cultural nuance played an important part in the whole equation. So I brought this up to my CFO, who controls the data. Different companies, different people control the data. I believe on the vitamins, you control the data, but in my former company, the CFO controls the data. So I went and I said, look, I really want to do this model. We need to start using the data. You're so smart because you use the data so incredibly to anticipate whether people will pay us, whether people are going to be good creditors. I want to do the same. So can you help me? And of course, many of us in this room will face the challenge that Jennifer actually poses by saying, I will not give you my data. So I was actually talking to somebody that thinks like you, obviously, because they're very protective of the data. And they said, there is a lot of, especially we're a bank in a way, so there's a lot of things that I need to, make sure that they're in line so that I can give you this data. I kept pushing. A few years went by, but eventually Oh, now you see, now I went the other way. So eventually, I came to him with the facts, right? Which is, if you if you allow me to use this data, I can get us, according to Salesforce and many other sources, a double in percentage of click-through rate. I can get 6 times the conversion rate, and I'm going to increase the ROI. So it is really about building the business case. Obviously, sorry, I didn't build a business case just with these 3 little numbers. We had to put together a whole business case, show them the projections. Again, it took a couple of years for me to sell this through, but eventually I did, and that's the good news. So then the next step that I took in my journey was, well, I need to talk to a lot of vendors, which I know many of you are here in this room as well. And I started talking to people, understanding contextual targeting, and how can I layer all of these different plugins or DSPs or CDPs and all of the acronyms that are out there in the industry, and really trying to understand who does what and how much, and how is this, because, okay, I got the business case to prove that if we do this the right way, we're gonna make a lot of money, but how much is this gonna cost? How many resources are gonna be involved into doing this? So that's a whole other journey that I had to go through. So I decided to start small, and I did pilot test. So I was able to convince him to give me 100,000 records of our first party data. And then I went and contacted, after reviewing multiple vendors, one particular one that I selected to help us enrich this first party data with secondary party data. So this was a co-op where you actually put your data, transactional data in, and it's a co-op collective of multiple different types of companies like Best Buy and Marriott and a whole bunch of different companies from many different places. That the benefit was I was going to be able to see the behaviors of my customer, not only inside my 4 walls, which is the only view I had, but outside of my 4 walls. So that was very helpful in allowing us to identify 6 customer personas. Because as I mentioned originally, we only target all of our customers with the same offers, same email, no real segmentation other than, oh, this person hasn't purchased from me for a while, so let me go send them an email. So we identified these personas that really added a lot of context and texture to who they were. And then we used an AI tool from our ESP to test it out and then see if this AI platform really was going to give us what we needed to. So first, this is one example of the 6 personas that we selected for the test. This is Vanessa. And what we used to have of Vanessa was underneath her. So I knew how old she was, what her obviously her gender, her occupation, how much she made, all of this information that you can see below her picture. But what we learned by augmenting, this view, myopic view we had of our customers with second-party data, is that we learned that Vanessa actually really was very tech-savvy, that she was very interested in consumer electronics, which we have marketed to her ad nauseum, but actually home furnishings and fashion and cooking and all of these other things that were important to her. And again, this is a persona that came up as pretty prevalent in our database that we have never communicated to in a way that really would be catered to her. We learned that for her, value is important, but she actually makes very conscious decisions. So by the time she gets to the store, she already knows what she's going to buy. So she does a lot of research before she even gets there. So we utilized this persona, and then we created a whole journey where we said, okay, based on all of these attributes that we learned about her, we're going to develop paid social, where we're going to find her and offer her something with the same look and feel and communication that we're going to have in direct mail, as well as email, as well as SMS, because we know that she, in addition to being digitally savvy and interested, she also appreciates when she gets direct mail pieces from us. We did massive mailers every 3 weeks to our customers. So we customize this mailer to look very different. So instead of being the overarching, general, very hard sale, discount-focused type of initiative, we went into the transform your home with style. And these are just mock-ups of what we originally created. And then we actually developed an A/B testing where we mailed to this same persona the original version of what we were looking to do with all of this couponing and very hard sale type of messages. And then we mailed to another the same segment, but another group of people, the one that was more focused on these particular categories that they cared about. Result was not surprising. It was twice the click-through rate on the email, higher conversion rate, and higher return on investment that we ever saw. So basically, we said, yeah, this really worked, and we need to expand this, to other segments and start continuing with more testing. So when my next question was, can you give me all of the records? And the answer was, not yet. So that was my journey. I just wanted to share with you. And if you have any questions, I'm here and happy to talk to you about more of my journeys. Thank you.
Ariela, stay up there. We got some audience.
I know they have questions, and I'm leaving. Okay, sorry. So what are the questions? There weren't questions. There are questions. Any questions?
Don't make me call on you, Asa, if I have to ask someone for questions.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe something that I didn't mention is the part of multicultural marketing, because in this whole process, sometimes what I hear a lot is like, yeah, we need to layer cultural elements, but cultural elements really vary. There's 3 types of people. There's the acculturated, the bicultural, and then unacculturated. So if you're going to be going after the multicultural audience and doing your segmentation, it is really important that in your data you're able to figure out who's who, so that you can create a metrics that really enables you to target them with the right channels and the right messaging that is specific to their cultural background. That's something I didn't add here. But yes.
So my question is, Lisa Sorelli, Neiman Marcus. So I love your test. It proved out you had all the right KPIs. 2 questions. One, was there buy-in that was scalable and that was something that you'd keep doing? And then 2, why did you not get the rest of the file then? It's like, that seems like a clear winner.
Right? Thank you. Great questions. So definitely there was buy-in. When they saw the results, they're like, oh my God, this looks awesome. And yeah, we're super excited. What else? What would it take? And I'm like, well, it would take for you to give me the entire, the entire database of our customers. And the reason why I didn't get there just yet is because, I departed the company, I think, part of it. Secondly is because when you are working with companies that are privately owned, that have managed their database in a very protective manner for so many decades, is really hard to make the move. So that's why I wanted to do a test with just 100,000 records. And my next step would be, and I think they're continuing, and I hope they are, is now expanding it to 200,000 records and 300,000 records. So I wouldn't be so aggressive going to your CEO and saying, well, okay, 100,000 work, now you give me 2 million or 10 million or whatever amount of records you have. Just scale it, right? Little by little. You do one test, you do a second test, you use a different persona, and then as you start proving success, you will get additional buy-in. But we were on the right path. We for sure were on the right path. Another thing that I actually talked to a colleague of mine said that what they were actually trying to do, and I don't know if this sounds a little crazy or not, but they were going to actually take some of the records, put them on, create a chat GPT, and then make that persona, in a way, a GPT and then ask the GPT questions as if that was the real human. Like, do you like this creative or you like this other creative, and why? Or would you go this, subject line or this other subject line? So in essence, you use this AI tool, you feed it your information, so it's coherent, and then use it as if it was a focus group, which is awesome because focus groups are so expensive, as you know.
One more question.
Thanks. Asa from Napa. So your comment on the multicultural really got me thinking. So when you're segmenting your audiences, do you segment them by their language preference? And then how do you customize the creative to really speak to that person and what they prefer to be spoken to?
Thank you for that question. So yes, I always segment by language and by culture, level of acculturation, because the level of acculturation will dictate also based on age. You can be very, very micro-segmented, and depending on what square you're going after is the relevance of the type of channel, or whether you go bilingual, you go English, or you go Spanish. I actually have done the gamut. I've done Spanish full, 100% Spanish, pieces that go out to Spanish-dominant, Spanish-preferred customers. When I'm dealing with bilingual and bicultural Latinos, there has been a study. I actually worked at Univision for 12 years, and we did a study with Nielsen. Somebody from Nielsen was here, where we put these things in the heads of consumers, and then we show them ads. And if we switch one word, just one or two words in Spanish from an English ad, the bilingual, bicultural consumer actually saw higher levels of brain activity. So that actually cued into a lot of the Hispanic advertisers to start doing bilingual ads, which were a huge no-no in the 90s, in the 80s, where Hispanic marketing was huge, and then now we're switching into multicultural. But for a long time, everybody's like, "Oh no, don't do Spanglish. That is sacrilegious." But Univision, the Spanish language network, confirmed that if you throw and you pepper it with some bilingual content, you actually get higher intent, because they connect. Because that's how we speak, by the way. I've been here for 3 decades, originally from Mexico City, because you can hear my accent, and I speak like Spanglish. I put English and I throw some Spanish, and that's how we communicate. But if you're an English-dominant second or third generation Latino, you want to be communicated in English. So thank you for the question.
Ariela, thank you so much.
Thank you.